So, my favorite memory. All right, put your cameras down. No recording.
Look at it, need another beer.
I think it had to be on hot summer nights in Nebraska when I was young. And Dad loves to drive. I think everyone knows how much Dad loves to drive. And he's a great tour guide in the car. And for a night out, we would just get in the car and drive. And we'd stop and get ice cream or Dairy Queen and pile back in the car and drive someplace. And at least Kathy and I were in the back seat with ice cream all over the place, and Mom's trying to keep us clean, and Dad's just driving happy as heck. And we're making a mess out of the car. And I just remember Dad's love for driving and love for, you know, telling stories about where we were that I never remembered. I appreciate those nights, getting out of the house on a hot night, no air conditioning, and just getting ice cream. That's my memory, off the top of my head.
You knew you were going to make me go second, and I was going to use those.
Well, I've got another one.
It probably wasn't the same one, but I remember smearing ice cream in Greg's face. And
Well, that was last week.
what she remember.
Now she's got you and Frank.
You know, if I have to, there's a lot of memories. A lot of them include Mom, which I'm sure you're aware of. Of course, it wouldn't be complete without Mom. But I'll tell you what I remember was we didn't have a lot of money when we were growing up. We really didn't. And I remember we'd go out to eat, and Mom, before we went, he probably doesn't know a lot of this. Mom would go, "Now we don't have a lot of money, but Dad wants to take us out. But you know, we're gonna go out to eat and get something to eat." And we'd get to the restaurant, and Dad would go, "We go out to eat? I meant to bring you out to eat. Order what you want. No cost." I'm like, oh boy. So here I have Mom on one side of my head going, "Remember, we don't have a lot of money, and Dad's going to say eat what you want." So I remember those. It was always about.
So what did you do?
We always went to Red Barn and got a 33-cent hamburger. Yeah, that's right. And the time we went out was always breakfast. After church, we would always go to breakfast. The breakfast consisted of donuts and juice, but we always went out for breakfast.
So I guess that puts me back on the spot. My favorite memory of Dad, I will never forget. Dad loves plaid, and I always loved plaid, and I probably got it from him. One of my birthdays, I know we lived on 96th Avenue in Omaha, so I was probably, 10, 12, but I know it was a Tuesday night, because I believe it was a bowling night. And you got me, and you had picked it out yourself, a brown plaid skirt and a brown sweater. And you let me go bowling with you that night. So I got to stay up late on a school night so I could go see him bowl. And I just always remember that because he picked out this plaid skirt himself. And maybe that's where I picked up my love of plaid like he has.
But not a love of bowling.
Just a chance.
No, but he let me stay up late on a school night. So that's one of my favorites. Mark?
I don't know if I have a specific story.
Yeah, you can't hear you. Come on, Mark, front and center.
Everybody else is backlit in this video, so come on.
No, I was thinking about what story. I don't have a story per se, but like 3 memories come to mind. 2 involving shoes.
Slippers.
And how Dad used to always mow the yard, his wingtip shoes. And I never figured out why he did that. I always thought about buying him sneakers, but he would never wear sneakers, or tennis shoes we called them. But in the garage, I always had 2 or 3 pairs of wingtips. Some were for like just walking, some were for like mild yard work. Those were really grummed up, were like the ones for actually mowing. And they were lined up in the garage. And the other time was the slippers. We went to church on Christmas morning. And we all walk into communion, and everybody goes, "Oh, Dad has his new slippers on."
No, we had to carry up.
And Dad had on, I think they were plaid slippers.
They were new slippers.
They were new
for Christmas. And we were just all like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, but the other memory, which is always fun, I always enjoyed this, is like when Dad would come from work and Kurt and I were playing basketball in the yard, and the basketball hoop that Dad always made sure he built for us. we were playing basketball, and Dad would always come up and shoot baskets. Not always, but he sometimes came up and shot baskets with us. I always liked that. Even though he had the most unorthodox shots, it always went in. My coach says go like this, and my dad goes like this. But it always went in. So, and he'd take 2 shots and go inside. That was it. So those, like I said, it's not a story, but those are 3 memories that I said on the spot. Those that came to mind.
I'll make one comment, but I remember when that time we went to church and I wore my slippers to church, and actually I didn't know I had them on.
You swore at the time. You swore at the time it was intentional.
What I didn't understand is it embarrassed you kids.
Truth be told,
Frankly, I could care less. Nobody paid attention to what I wore to church.
So, Dad, I'm going to put you on the spot.
I had a tie on though.
And your pants.
How about Dad sharing some memories of each of us children with everybody? If something comes to mind that you recollect with each of us.
Maybe the good ones.
The best one, I can remember a lot of us often thought about it, but I always remember the one about Greg, the best.
Oh, that's fine. That's fair.
Let's end the story there.
Greg,
I moved out of the house, that was the best day.
Let Dad share his story.
when he was in high school, I think he was a junior, and he had a couple of friends that he ran around with. They were good kids. Greg was a good kid. But one night he come and wanted this one kid's dad owned a cabin on the river, and Greg wanted to know if they could go down there and stay overnight. And I said, well, does his dad want you to go? And yeah, they did. And so I let him go down, and the next morning Greg come home and he was drunk. And I knew right away he was, but and I also smelled him, and I knew what he'd been drinking, wine. And he went in the house and wanted to get a drink of water, and I said, no, don't get a drink of water. But I don't remember whether you got the drink of water or not, but that's as you know, you can.
Good thing you said you were
But
a good
I
kid
think
to
I remember
start
telling
that
him,
story.
listen, well, you learned something there. Now that's a true story, isn't
Take
it?
the mints before you get in the
Yeah,
house.
yeah, it's a pretty true story.
Oh boy.
I'll open it up to anybody if they'd like to share something